Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki Jayam Vishwapata Mahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtoka Shri Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Thakur Shri Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Prem Se Kahor Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasati Gaur Bhaktivinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki Jagannath Puri ki Ganga Mai ki Yamuna Mai ki Bhakti Devi ki Tulasi Devi ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki taking over the world with Shri Prabhupada Transcendental Book Distribution and Daiva Varnashram Farm Communities ki all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri
श्रीमते भक्ति विकास नाम है ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निधि नामे नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 11, titled Calculation of Time from the Atom, text 17. I'm going to request someone to kindly chant the verse after I've just chanted some of the words. And the verse and the purport can be read. I'm trying to save my voice. Kalasya gatim bhagavataha nano vishwam vichakshate dhiraha yogaradhena chakshusha
Bhagavan Veda
Kalasya
Tim Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Yogaradhena Chakshusha Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Tim Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Yogaradhena Chakshusha Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Yogaradhena Chakshusha Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Yogaradhena Chakshusha Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Yogaradhena Chakshusha Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Yogaradhena Chakshusha Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Yogaradhena Chakshusha Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Yogaradhena Chakshusha
Mataji's
Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu
Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Radhena Chakshusha Bhagavan Vedakalasya Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Yogaradhena Chakshusha
Bhagavan, O spiritually powerful one.
O spiritually powerful one.
Veda, you know. Kalasya, of the eternal time. Gatim, movement. Bhagavataha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanu, as a matter of course. Vishwam, whole universe. Vichakshate, Dhiraha, those who are self-realized. Yogaradhena, by dint of mystic vision. Chakshusha, by the eyes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O spiritually powerful one, you can understand the movements of eternal time, who is the controlling form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because you are a self-realized person, you can see everything by the power of mystic vision. Purport. Those who have reached the highest perfectional stage of mystic power and can see everything in the past, present, and future are called three Kalagnyas. Similarly, the devotees of the Lord can see everything clearly that is in the revealed scriptures. The devotees of Lord Sri Krishna can very easily understand the science of Krishna, as well as the situation of the material and spiritual creations, without difficulty. Devotees do not have to endeavor for any yoga siddhi or perfection in mystic powers. They are competent to understand everything by the grace of the Lord who is sitting in everyone's heart.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sujivam Sadhvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalitha Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshase Dhira Yoga Radhena Chakshusha. O spiritually powerful one, you can understand the movements of eternal time, which is the controlling form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because you are a self-realized person, you can see everything by the power of mystic vision. Here, Vidura is speaking to Maitreya, and there is only one comment offered by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Bhagavan refers to, here in this case, refers to Maitreya, and Srila Prabhupada is translating this very appropriately in the word to word by saying, "O spiritually powerful one," that Vidura is recognizing that Maitreya is spiritually powerful. Why is Maitreya spiritually powerful? Because Yoga Radhena. Yoga Radhena. Yoga Radhena here is translated by dint of mystic vision, but Chakravarti Pad says that Yoga Radhena means by the attaining perfection by the process of yoga. So, Maitreya Muni is considered to be a spiritually powerful one because he is perfect in the process of yoga. And because he is perfect in the process of yoga, he can see. What can he see? He can see Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavataha. That he can see the movements, Gatim, Kalasya, of time under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Veda, he knows. He knows. So here's the thing. He not only knows, but he can see as well. It's one thing to know, but it's another thing to see. We may know that Antarctica is covered in ice. It is another experience and another level of knowledge to actually perceive that or to actually see it. Because when you see something, you get more knowledge. We may know how a particular item is being prepared, but when you see the cook do it, you gain a lot more insight into that particular matter. So here, in that way, he is vichakshate. He is vichakshate. Vichakshate is also seeing. So, chakshusha, by the eyes, vichakshate, he is seeing. Now, this vichakshate, he is seeing because he is dhira, he is self-controlled. Because he is self-controlled, he doesn't face the problem of illusion. He doesn't see the external movements, but he is able to see behind that external movements the purpose of the Supreme Lord's creation. And therefore, the translation, it says that you can understand the movements of eternal time, which is the controlling form of the personality of Godhead. It is the controlling form. See, Prabhupada, he gives an indication as to what the purpose of time is. Time is how the Supreme Lord controls the material universe. He controls the demigods, he controls everything, even Brahma is controlled by time. So, Maitreya Muni is able to perceive this. And Vidura is glorifying Maitreya in this way. It's a wonderful way in which Vidura is glorifying Maitreya. Then Maitreya is perfect because he's spiritually powerful because he has attained perfection through the process of yoga. Through the process of yoga, he is able to know the movements. He is able to know the movements. How does he know the movements of time? He understands the purpose. So it is one thing to have some knowledge of something, that it exists. It is another thing to understand why it exists. When you understand why it exists, you have complete knowledge of something. You may know that a phone exists over here, but if you don't know what is the purpose of that phone, who does it belong to? There's so many features of this phone. Then you don't have complete knowledge. You just have knowledge that it exists. So seeing, but not only seeing, understanding the purpose behind it. So this is Maitreya Muni, and he is such a powerful sage by the blessings of the Supreme Lord. How did Maitreya Muni become so powerful? He met Krishna himself, and he also got the association of Krishna's pure devotee Uddhava by Agyata Sukriti. He happened to be there, and he happened to sit in that conversation, and he sat through a conversation where the Supreme Lord is speaking with his pure devotee. They are reciprocating, and that allowed Maitreya Muni to gain access into pure devotional service. And by gaining access into pure devotional service, Maitreya Muni became self-realized. He practiced pure devotional service. He became so self-realized that he could understand the entire purpose of creation. To understand, and therefore, Prabhupada says that those who have attained the highest perfectional stage of mystic power can see everything in past, present, and future and are called Trikalagnyas. Okay, that is for those who have attained the perfectional stage of mystic power. But similarly, the devotees. So Prabhupada there's two classes of people Prabhupada is speaking over here. He's saying that there are those who have attained Trikalagnya through the mystic power. But then the devotees, they attain this through the revealed scriptures. It's very interesting that Prabhupada is comparing seeing past, present, and future is equivalent to understanding what's in the revealed scriptures. Which means what? If we understand the revealed scriptures properly, we understand past, present, and future. You may not know exactly past. It may seem like these are two completely different things. These don't look like they're similar. They look like they're two different things. So, similarly, the devotees can attain knowledge of everything in the revealed scriptures. Why? Why is it that devotees can know past, present, and future, or the equivalent of past, present, and future by understanding what's in the revealed scriptures?
Krishna. Vedaham samatita.
I'm not understanding. What?
If Krishna says he knows past, present, and future.
Krishna knows past, present, and future.
Revealed scriptures help you understand Krishna.
So the revealed scriptures help you understand Krishna, and when you understand Krishna, you know everything. Okay, can we refine that a little more? Yes.
Maybe not exactly refined, but the information given in Shastra, the universe and the history and stuff, it happens in like cycles.
That's also very true, that it happens in cycles, so we can understand in that sense the past, present, and future of the entire universe. That's a very good answer. Yes. What else?
We also see Yamaraj, he is empowered by the Supreme Lord to be omniscient of knowing past, present, and future. And not just that, even astrologers, if someone is actually good, they understand the permutation, the combination of the modes of material nature. Karanam guno sangasya.
Okay.
So when they understand such permutations and combinations, they're able to understand past, present, and future, seeing how these things work.
That's correct. Yes. No, the specific question is what in relation to this particular verse, right? How is it that those who are devotees can see everything through the revealed scriptures, and how Prabhupada is comparing that as similar to seeing past, present, and future as Trikalagnyas? And the clue, the hint is in this translation itself. Oh, sorry, I thought I was controlling the screen. Okay, yeah.
Because they understand Krishna, and Krishna is time.
Krishna is time.
Can reveal anything to the devotee.
Yes, just one more thing that I'm expecting. They're very close. They're able to see the influence of time, which is? Yes, of course. The controlling factor. That they understand how Krishna is controlling the universe, which means what? They understand the will of the Supreme Lord. That time is the will of the Supreme Lord, and you understand the will of the Supreme Lord through the revealed scriptures. Because that's exactly what Krishna states. In Bhagavad Gita, he states what his desire is. We understand who Krishna is as a person, what his desires are for the living entities. And through that, one understands past, present, and future. Because if we don't understand the desire of the Supreme Lord, then we will always remain bewildered. Even if you know past, present, and future, even if you may be, there are so many astrologers, are there not? You gave that example. That's correct. It's correct. They do know past, present, but there are many astrologers, but they're not devotees. They're not Vaishnavas. So they may know past, present, and future, but they will not know it the way Maitreya knows it. They won't understand it in that way. Because Maitreya Muni and other great devotees understand the will of the Supreme Lord. And when you understand the will, you know how he controls. You see, if you know a person who's running a business, you know him, you know the person itself, then you will understand more about how he runs a business than if you just know about the business. Because you know the person who's controlling the business. You can, if you know him very well, you can literally predict how he may act or what he may do. What he is favorable to, what he is unfavorable to. So similarly, Krishna gives hints in Shastra. What is he favorable to? What is he not favorable to? And all this is understood through the process of devotional service. Therefore, in the purport, Prabhupada continues that the devotees of Lord Sri Krishna can very easily understand the science of Krishna as well as the situation of the material and spiritual creations without difficulty. Prabhupada is speaking science of Krishna, which means that Krishna is a person, he is a personality, and he has will, he has desire. And devotees can understand this. Whereas other people think that you need to go through. So, okay, let me take control of the screen. We'll get back to this purport, which is basically yoga siddhi. Prabhupada is saying, because, okay, let me actually finish this. So Prabhupada is saying, devotees do not have to endeavor for any yoga siddhi or perfection in mystic powers, because here the word yoga radhena, by dint of mystic vision, as Chakravarti Pada reveals is actually the perfection of devotional service. It is not it is not mystic yoga that is being spoken of here. Therefore, Prabhupada, in following the footsteps of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is expanding on that by explaining that no, this is not some extraneous process, but actually through the process of devotional service, that devotees are competent to understand everything by the grace of the Lord who is sitting in everyone's heart. So, we'll go to Canto 3, Chapter 25. This is Teachings of Lord Kapila. We are looking at text 19. So here, Kapila says, perfection in self-realization cannot be attained by any kind of yogi unless he engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for that is the only auspicious path. Following this teaching, this statement in Lord Kapila's teachings, our acharyas explain how that you cannot attain any perfection, whether that is even the impersonal Brahman, or that may be the perfection of mystic yoga, or becoming a jnana yogi, whatever that may be, you cannot attain perfection without performing some level of devotional service. And actually it is devotional service that actually gives perfection even in other endeavors of yoga. So yoga means there has to be some level of devotional service. So Prabhupada writes here in the purport that in the beginning of the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that when one engages himself in the devotional service of Vasudeva, spiritual knowledge and renunciation of the material world automatically become manifest. What verse is this? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayada Haiktukam. That by performance of devotional service, one automatically attains spiritual knowledge and renunciation. You don't have to separately endeavor for that. You just have to endeavor for devotional service. And devotional service itself is so powerful that by one's service attitude, everything is revealed. It is stated here that Shiva Pantaha, this is the only auspicious path for self-realization. So, underline this word, Prabhupada is saying, by one's service attitude. This is very, very important. Why? Why is this one's service attitude everything becomes revealed? Why is that the case? So devotional service is measured by the attitude. There is a verse for that also. I'm also forgetting actually. That, Yeah, now I remember. Shraddhavan Jan Hai Bhakti Adhikari. Right? Shraddhavan Jan Hai Bhakti Adhikari. That one's service attitude depends on one's faith in Krishna consciousness. That if you don't have proper faith, you cannot perform service properly. Your service attitude depends, and your service attitude qualifies how pure your devotional service is. If your service attitude is mixed, then your devotional service is mixed. Then you have mixed devotional service. Then everything doesn't become revealed. Prabhupada states this later in okay, we will go to Matsya Avatar, chapter 24, text number 38. So this is the Supreme Lord in the form of Matsya instructing Satyavrata Muni, or Satyavrata Maharaj, who became Satyavrata Muni. And so he is stating, you will be thoroughly advised and favored by me because of your inquiries. Everything about my glories, which are known as Param Brahma, will be manifest within your heart, and thus you will know everything about me. Now in the purport, Prabhupada, very nice purport, he says, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya Chaham Shridi Sannivishto Mataspriti Jnanam Apohanam Cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, is situated in everyone's heart, and from him comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The Lord reveals himself in proportion to one's surrender unto him. Ye tamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamiham. In responsive cooperation, the Lord reveals himself in proportion to one's surrender. This is the main line over here. That which is revealed to one who fully surrenders is different from what is revealed to one who surrenders partially. This is a very, very important line here. That here we are talking about everything being revealed. That is the purport of the verse that we just read today in Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada and we saw how Kapila Dev is stating that by devotional service perfection is achieved. And Prabhupada is stating that it depends on one's service attitude. And how does one's service attitude determine? Depending on your level of surrender. How will you surrender? It depends on your faith. What is the difference? Uttama, Madhyama, Kanishta. Surrender is the difference. The Uttama Adhikari is completely surrendered to the will of the Supreme Lord. The Kanishta has some other ideas, separate. Little mixture is there. So, in this way, the Supreme Lord, the degree to which He reveals Himself, and what is the, okay, it might be the Supreme Lord who reveals, no, but then everything in the material and spiritual world also becomes revealed in that proportion. And why is this stated in this context? Prabhupada is saying, everyone naturally surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead either directly or indirectly. Ye yatam mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. Mama vartmanu vartante manushya pata sarvasha. That's a very wonderful verse. In that verse, Krishna is stating, as one surrenders to me, I reciprocate with them. Okay? So you may think, oh, okay. So if one doesn't surrender to Krishna, he doesn't reciprocate. It almost sounds like you can actually live independently of surrendering to Krishna. Krishna makes the point, no, sir, it's how much you realize you are surrendering to me. Because mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. There is no way but to surrender to me. It is either forced or not forced. It is either forced or through devotional service, through love. How is it forced? The conditioned soul surrenders to the laws of nature and material existence. But when one fully surrenders to the Lord, material nature does not act upon him. So, how does the conditioned soul surrender to the laws of material nature? I was a little interesting thought. He has to surrender in the form of death. He is forced. You don't, but you will bow down. You will be forced. You will offer obeisances when you die. Because when you die, your body doesn't have any other shape that it can maintain. It is lying down flat. But you are forced to do it. Okay. Some other examples? There are many ways in which the conditioned soul, but just to churn. Yeah. The material mind naturally gravitates to the sense objects. How do they surrender to that? How do they surrender to the laws? I mean, time, of course, time. That one of the aspects of time is death. So that he already stated in the form of death.
Making attempt to surrender to Krishna, but rather just allowing oneself to be dragged by the mind.
You're allowing yourself to be dragged by the mind. You let your mind drag you all over the universe. Literally let you drag you all over the universe. You completely surrender to the mind. You have no independence. Yes. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. You don't have any choice. You cannot avoid these things. You're forced. You're forced to eat. You're forced to sleep. Even we, right? Sometimes you want to try to control sleep. Then one time you sleep and you don't know. You can't even wake up. It's like you are completely you are completely not in control. When we are sick, you're out. You can be such a big hero, I feel very strong person. I work out a lot. I feel like I'm, I can easily, fight with 5 people at the same time, whatever, like those heroes in movies and this and that and all that. But when you get a disease, you can't even see the damn thing. And it goes into your body and you are finished. You are totally finished. Okay. Another way in which the conditioned soul surrender. Crushed by the wheel. Yeah. And another way they surrender is chewing the chewed. They keep chewing the chewed. They don't realize it. But they are forced to keep chasing after that which they have already experienced and suffered from. They have no choice. And another way in which they surrender, this is a really powerful way in which they surrender, is they accept themselves to be the body. By accepting themselves to be the body, you have completely subjugated yourself to the laws of material nature. And because I am this body, and you will see most of the people, the way they function, why do they function in this way? Because they think they are the body. They think, I am American, therefore I need to do this. I am so and so, I am a rich person, therefore I need to do this. I am so and I'm such an educated scholar, therefore I need to be like this. I am a feminist, therefore I am like this. I'm a supporter. I'm a supporter of. I'm a democratic, supporter. Therefore, I need to be. It's all bodily misconceptions. And by surrendering to these different ideas that are all related to the body, one surrenders to the laws of material nature. So, the devotee transfers that to the Supreme Lord. He transfers that by understanding that he surrenders unto the idea that he is a servant of Guru and Krishna. That is the secret of success. Sorry, I left it open. And so, Prabhupada continues here, one who has fully surrendered to the Lord has no fear for the modes of material nature, for everything is but an expansion of the Lord's glories, and these glories are gradually revealed and realized. So, he has no fear for the modes of material nature, and the mode and these glories. What are the glories? Everything is but an expansion of the Lord's glories. Everything. What does that mean? Everything. Literally everything. Everything you can think of. The weather, expansion of the Lord's glories. What else can we think of? The way in which the material world works, expansion of the Lord's glories. Right? Nature, you may find nature to be amazing, expansion of the Lord's glories. You may find someone to be very envious of you. That's also expansion of the Lord's glories. And in this way, we see everything in relation to Krishna. We realize that everything is conducted by Krishna and everything is happening under the agency of time. Why do we happen to be in a certain particular place with a certain class of people? Because Krishna has put us there. What do we need to learn from that? How to become a better devotee. That's all. How to surrender more to Krishna. Because in every circumstance, if the devotee realizes, Krishna has put me here so that I surrender more to him and he will reveal to me more why I'm in this, why am I given this particular service. This is very interesting that Prabhupada is saying all of this in Matsya Avatar. You see, in the story of Matsya, you have Satyavrata, who is a king, who has renounced his kingdom. And he is meditating. What is he meditating? Why is he meditating? He wants to attain perfection. He is a devotee of the Supreme Lord. He is a pure devotee. He is performing his penance and tapasya to attain the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Right? And what happens? The Supreme Lord appears as a small fish. It's stated right here if we go to the index. So, begin this text number 10. Right? There was a great king named Satyavrata. Was a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Satyavrata performed austerities by only subsisting on water. Now, this is because Satyavrata had already renounced the kingdom. He was performing austerities. Why? Why do great devotee kings perform austerities? Welfare of the world. Why? At the end of the life, what are they doing? They want to go back home, back to Godhead. Right? So that's purpose of Satyavrata Muni. It's not very difficult to guess that. And what happens? You have that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in the form of a small fish in his palms. Then he threw that fish into the water. Then the poor fish says to the king, don't throw me into the water. There are other aquatics who will kill me. I am very much afraid of them. So the king, being moved by the pitiable words of the fish, placed the fish in a water jug and brought him into his own residence. Then the fish grew so big that he couldn't move his body comfortably in the pot of water, and therefore the fish tells the king, please find me a better reservoir of water where I can live comfortably. Then the king threw him into a large well. That also became insufficient. Then the king took the fish from the well and threw him into a lake. And then the fish assumed a gigantic form exceeding the extent of the water of the lake. Then the king takes the fish to the largest reservoir of water, and even that becomes insufficient. And then the king is about to throw the fish into the ocean, and at that time the fish says, "Oh no, don't throw me into the ocean." And the king becomes bewildered. But then he realizes that this is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He offers prayers, and then the Supreme Lord says, after offering these prayers, Supreme Lord says, "O king, who can subdue your enemies, on the 7th day from today, the 3 worlds, Bhu, Bhuva, and Swa, will all merge into the water of inundation." The partial devastation of the universe is going to happen. When all the 3 worlds merge into the water, a large boat sent by me will appear before you. Thereafter, O king, you shall collect all types of herbs, seeds, and load them onto that great boat. Then, accompanied by the seven sages and surrounded by all kinds of living entities, you shall get aboard that boat, and without moroseness, you shall easily travel with your companions on the ocean of inundation, the only illumination being the effulgence of the great rishis. Then, as the boat is tossed about by the powerful winds, attach the vessel to my horn by means of the great serpent Vasuki, for I shall be present by your side. Pulling the boat with you and all the rishis in it, O king, I shall travel in that water of devastation until the night of Lord Brahma's slumber is over. So, this is Satyavrata Muni. He is trying to perform penance to go back home, back to Godhead. Krishna has some other plan. What plan does he have? He has some plan. He wants to engage him in some service. What kind of service is this? I'm going to make you survive through the entire night of Brahma's devastation. Okay? Entire night of Brahma, you are going to stay alive. Generally, everybody will die. Everybody is dead. Satyavrata Muni is in the Bhurbhuvaswa. He is present in that realm, which is going to get devastated. And Krishna has a plan for his devotee, and he wants to engage him in his service. He wants to perform a pastime where he wants to be a fish who's playing about tossing in the waves that toss about the ocean of devastation. And there is some pleasure in that. There is some pleasure in a fish. A fish or dolphins or whatever, they like to dive out of the water. And why? Because there is some pleasure there. There is some pleasure in being able to swim fast. Therefore, divers and other kinds of swimmers, they try to imitate these things. Because there is some pleasure there. But when a human being tries to enjoy this pleasure separately from Krishna, what happens? He becomes entangled. He becomes a fish. And that fish can enjoy that pleasure separately from Krishna, but is also bound by the laws of material nature and suffers. Now, Krishna, he is the source of all types of enjoyment, which means he can also enjoy the pleasure of swimming like an aquatic, but he is not bound by the laws of material nature. And he can enjoy it to the fullest extent without having to go through the otherwise miserable existence of a fish. A fish's existence in the scale of the species of the universe is at the very bottom. What is that? Verse. But so the first it says is aquatics. Stavara Laksha Vimshati, but then the verse before that, the line before that. Anyways, I can't remember. So the aquatics are the lowest. They are even lower than trees. And Shastra tells us that life in the species of a fish is very, very, very it's a lot of suffering. And one of the reasons why is that when you are in that species, you are the furthest away from getting the mercy of devotees and of devotional service. Because it's very rare that you're going to find devotees on an ocean. Right? In fact, most of the time, if there are devotees on the ocean, they are also partly in Maya. That's why they're there. Unless you have because they're on some cruise ship that they shouldn't be on. Unless you have some pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada who's traveling on Jaladuta and somehow or the other. But then you're in the bottom of the ocean. How can you hear? You are in the ocean where even sunlight doesn't reach. These living entities are really, really, really condemned. Because even though you may be a tree, You may still hear the holy name. You may still have the possibility of hearing Harinam Sankirtan. In the ocean, where is your possibility? You know? Maybe somebody could drop some prasadam. Maybe. The ocean is so big. The ocean covers more area on this planet than the landmass itself. So you're really condemned. So, but Supreme Lord, He wants to favor even the living entities in that ocean. So He takes the form of a fish and He delivers them in the ocean. And He has decided that Satyavrata Muni has to engage. And Satyavrata Muni, being a fully surrendered soul, surrenders to that service of the Supreme Lord. I mean, it's not going to be fun being in the waters of devastation. That waters of devastation, or the devastation itself, is meant to create fear. And he has literally seen, the Matsya Purana describes this in detail, he literally sees everybody dying around him. Everybody, every living entity piteously dying, and he can't do anything to save them. And you have to survive through all of that. It's not the greatest. And you have to see all of this, and then he's saying, Krishna is saying, as the boat is tossed about by the powerful winds, we don't have experience of this, but it's a very scary situation. Even when you're on a plane, I've given this example in the past, but I was on a plane from Hong Kong to India, and we passed through a severe storm cloud, and the plane like dropped for several tens, dozens of feet, and they were serving lunch at that time or whatever, and everything just flew up in the air, and it was just so horrible, and everybody was screaming and yelling, and you could feel that gut-wrenching like feeling when it like you get pulled. It feels like someone is pulling your abdomen from within your body. It's like, and it's this very foundational fear that seems to exist in your literally, or below your gut, somewhere below there, which seems like that's your foundation of your body or something. It's scary. It's scary. And so if you're tossed about, the ocean like that, it's not fun, and you also get seasick because you kind of lose orientation of yourself, and so it's not going to be fun. But Satyavrata Muni has to go through, and he's surrendered soul, and because he is surrendered to the Supreme Lord, he can see the purpose of the Supreme Lord through this, and he's able to execute his devotional service. So, because he understands the will of the Supreme Lord. So ultimately, that will of the Supreme Lord, that is the most important point. And Prabhupada states in that, in this Bhagavad Gita verse, that Prabhupada actually quotes at the end of that purport. So, what verse is this? Tesham evanukampartam aham ajnana jamtamaha Nyashayam yatma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvata. That to show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Prabhupada makes an amazing point here at literally the end of the purport. So he begins the purport with the Hare Krishna mantra. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thousands of people were following. And then Prabhupada starts bashing the Mayavadis. So I'm going to skip that. And Prabhupada in the end, he says, due to the contamination of material association through many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant. Krishna can be attained only by chanting Hare Krishna. Prabhupada makes it very clear in this purport. Only by this chant, not by chanting anything else, but by chanting Hare Krishna, and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life, and he need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is automatically provided by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the devotee, by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So, Prabhupada is stating the essence here that the devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. And he need not be anxious because when he removes the darkness in his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord. So, by surrendering to the Supreme Lord, everything we require is provided by the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada is making specifically material necessities, and he's saying it is automatically provided. And Prabhupada is saying this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Because we go to another famous verse. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Avyayam. So, what does this mean? That Krishna is saying that I will reveal Arjuna this knowledge, this greatest knowledge, which is the greatest secret, and this devotion service is perceivable. Now, what is this Pratyaksha? Prabhupada defines this Pratyaksha amazingly in the purport. Right? You go further down in the story of Narada Muni. Prabhupada actually speaks of the story of Narada Muni, and he gives the description of Narada Muni's story. If devotees don't know that, please read the Bhagavatam. And there he says that by associating with the sages, Narada got the taste for hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and he developed a great desire for devotional service. Therefore, as described in the Vedanta Sutra, Prakashascha karmani abhyasat. If one is engaged simply in the acts of devotional service, everything is revealed to him automatically and he can understand. This is called Pratyaksha. That everything being revealed to the devotee is called Pratyaksha. That how do you understand that we are progressing in devotional service? Everything becomes revealed. Everything becomes revealed to the devotee. And this is sometimes confusing. But the devotee understands the will of the Supreme Lord and has faith in that will of the Supreme Lord. He has full faith in the will of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, even in the story of Satyavrata Muni, you'll see here that Krishna is stating that you will be thoroughly advised. Then accompanied by the 7 rishis and surrounded by all kinds of living entities, you shall get aboard that boat and without moroseness. Underline that word. That Krishna is instructing Satyavrata that you shall perform your devotional service without getting morose. Why? Because sometimes devotional service is not easy and the circumstances one is placed is not easy. It is difficult to, until Srila Prabhupada manifested his pastimes in the West, it was very difficult to understand why Krishna made Srila Prabhupada wait for that long. But we can understand now in retrospect that Krishna brought Srila Prabhupada to the West at the exact perfect time. Maharaj speaks about this in the Mood and Mission, that Prabhupada came at just the perfect time. And it was just so ripe for people to just take up Krishna consciousness. If even Prabhupada had come 10 years, 20 years earlier, the circumstances wouldn't have been so perfect.
A year later.
Yeah, even a year actually, Maharaj says, yeah.
1 year earlier or later.
It was so perfect. The timing was just perfect. And when Prabhupada needed to stay longer, that was when the president signed something into existence, and Prabhupada was able to stay longer. He was able to get his green card. He was able to stay. Otherwise, he couldn't have done that. The president changed the laws of immigration just at that time. If Prabhupada had come even a year earlier, he wouldn't have been able to stay in the United States. He would have had to leave. It's so perfect. Now, we can argue, Krishna is Krishna. He is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He could have done anything. He could have changed everything. No, but Krishna has a particular plan. And a devotee of the Supreme Lord has full faith in the will of the Supreme Lord. And here, you will see that King Satyavrata, what he does is he, after thus instructing the king, the Supreme Personality of Godhead immediately disappeared. Then King Satyavrata began to wait for that time of which the Lord had instructed. So here Satyavrata, after seeing the Supreme Lord, he's not impatient. He's waiting. Okay, Krishna, why 7 days? Why can't you do it now? Why can't you? Cannot. Krishna can do. What's the problem? Can you not have the devastation happen 7 days earlier? Is it not possible? He can do it, but he doesn't. It's his will. It's his will. And that's called surrender. That's called surrender. Otherwise, where is the surrender? So, Satyavrata is describing this. He is exhibiting this maturity. Okay. There is an ecstatic section in the Mood and Mission called On the Job Training. And there, Maharaj writes, fulfilling the spiritual master's eternal occupation to expand the service of the Lord by training disciples in a service attitude, Srila Prabhupada was training boys and girls all over the world how to act nicely by practically serving Krishna in their everyday lives. He had given an analogy. Although in material life, a man must first become a highly qualified lawyer before sitting on the judge's bench, in Krishna consciousness, a sincere devotee is first allowed to sit on the bench to become a Brahmana, and then later, by the mercy of the holy name and spiritual master, he becomes qualified. It was really amazing to read this example. And the example itself is so far out. The example has been given of a judge. What is a judge? A judge actually makes decisions that affects other people's lives. And what is it? A devotee, in other life, you have to actually become qualified to become a judge, and then you become a judge. But a devotee, he gets to sit on means that, Prabhupada writes here, that in the material world, to be a judge, you must first become an undergraduate student, then a postgraduate, then enter law school, pass the bar exam, and become a lawyer. Only then can you be appointed to the position of judge. But in Krishna consciousness, it is different. First one sits on the bench of the High Court judge, and then he attains the qualifications. It sounds like Prabhupada is almost practically, it sounds like a talk of someone who's insane. Prabhupada is not insane. This is the process of Krishna consciousness. Why? Because sincerity is the key to invoking Krishna's reciprocation. This was according to the understanding that if one is engaged simply in the acts of devotional service, everything is revealed to him automatically, and he can understand. The more you serve, the more you become expert in everything. And that our technique is that we work sincerely, and the dictation will come from within. Krishna is seated there. And these quotes were they were so amazing. I felt so comforted reading it. Krishna will give you all intelligent facilities to serve him nicely if you are very much sincere to do so. You are all intelligent boys, and you should be engaged in Krishna's service. Then he will give you all intelligence. So in every action, we should always pray to Krishna for his help, so that we may act nicely. Lord Krishna advised Arjuna, Yudhyasva mam anusmara. That should be our principle. We should use all our intellect as well as possible, and at the same time, we should remember Krishna always. You mentioned that you are not yet a very bold preacher, but you will become bold if you have sincerity. In the beginning also, I could not speak. Prabhupada is so humble, he is giving his own example. But Krishna is within you, and when you are serving him sincerely, he will give you courage, boldness, everything. So, simply do as I am doing, and always be serious and sincere to serve Krishna, and he will give you intelligence how to do everything. So, and the example was very amazing. Okay. In 1967, in the presence of Jadurani Devi Dasi, his first artist disciple, while waving his hand and arm in the air as if painting the air, he told a newer artist, I have taught her how to paint. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 9 years later, he said, in the beginning she could not paint. By following the process of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam, the talent has come out. This, yeah. None of them. And here, actually, when some of Srila Prabhupada's artist disciples felt the quality of their productions fell far short of that required to illustrate the topics he was delineating in his books, they wrote him suggesting that they learned Renaissance art techniques. Srila Prabhupada replied as follows, there is no need for wasting time for learning the art from study of text. We should always remember that our time is very short. I think our artists should be satisfied with whatever they have learned already. That is sufficient. They should simply be engaged in painting pictures always, and that will teach them the art sufficiently. And then Prabhupada gives the example of mridanga players. In the beginning, I was seriously corresponding with Indian friends to get some good mridanga players. But when I found it too difficult to get a man from India, some of my students were given rudimentary lessons in playing, and simply by practice, they are putting on Sankirtan parties everywhere. My Guru Maharaj used to say that in a foreign land where you cannot speak the language with your natives very nicely, what do you do when there is fire in your house just to get help? In such emergency, one has to express himself somehow or the other to his foreign friends and get their help to extinguish the fire. Similarly, if we have to learn and then paint, it will be a long-term affair. But immediately, we want pictures for all our books. So all artists may always be engaged in painting works, and that painting itself will gradually teach them how to make things nice. If all the artists are always engaged in painting, that will satisfy me, and that will gradually make them experienced for good paintings. Amazing. And then Prabhupada, factually, when Jadurani first began to paint, she was slow. But now she has practiced, she has become very expert and quick. So this practice is what we will improve in all areas of your already very nice work. So when an Indian well-wisher proposed that new recruits be trained before being let loose, Srila Prabhupada disagreed. No, they'll be trained while working, not simply by theorizing at home. They should work, and at the same time, they may fall down, just like a child tries to walk, fall down, walks again, and then he becomes complete. And then, so learning on the job works in other areas of devotional service also. Stick to Krishna's service, and he will give you more and more intelligence and more managing power. Prabhupada was training us by book distribution, how to organize, how to manage, how to preach, how to associate, on a level that wasn't based so much on sentiment, but on factual understanding of what we are doing. He never preferred to hire karmi laborers, but engaged his own men and women and expected them to quickly pick up proficient skill by trial and error. So, I'll stop there. Any questions or comments? Yes.
So I'm going to send you this picture. Can you AirPlay this one?
And drop it onto my iPad if you're sharing it. No, you did it the wrong way.
Yeah.
No, you dropped it in the wrong location.
Okay.
Anyways, it's okay. Okay.
Yeah. So this is also from Mood and Mission. It's exactly about sincerity, where Maharaj is saying sincerity is the key for the mercy, is especially offered to the sincere. Krishna's
It's
mercy
hard to see.
Huh? What do you say?
Okay.
You can't see?
Yeah.
Krishna's mercy is always bestowed upon one who is sincerely serving him. To emphasize this point, Srila Prabhupada repeatedly quoted, Yasya devi para bhaktir yata devi tata guru, tasyaite katita hyarta prakashante mahatmanaha. Only unto those who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Those who, now this is the most amazing, those who accepted that Srila Prabhupada's plans are as good as those of Krishna are favored to understand them. The plans of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are understood by His mercy, and the plans of the devotees are as good as His plans. When one should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle of existence. With faith that plans of the devotee never go in vain, a true follower accepts Srila Prabhupada's plans and makes them one with his life.
Yeah. Actually, in that regard, I actually wanted to show one verse in Kapila Dev's teachings, which I failed to do so. This is, Okay. There's a lot that could be spoken on this, but it's a very important point to note. So, Kapila Dev says, this is actually Devahuti speaking to Kapila. My dear son Kapila, after all, I am a woman. It is very difficult for me to understand the absolute truth because my intelligence is not very great. But if you will kindly explain it to me, even though I am not very intelligent, I can understand it and thereby feel transcendental happiness. So here is a person who's feeling very unqualified, not qualified, but she's stating that because she's a woman, her intelligence is not perfect. But she's saying, if you are merciful, then I will understand. So here, Prabhupada says just in the very first line of this purport, knowledge of the absolute truth is not very easily understood by ordinary less intelligent men. But if the spiritual master is kind enough to the disciple, however unintelligent the disciple may be, then by the divine grace of the spiritual master, everything is revealed. Now this is very, very interesting that Prabhupada is using this word kind enough. Is the spiritual master cruel? No. Spiritual master cannot be cruel. Such a characteristic doesn't exist in the spiritual master. So spiritual master is kind. What is this kind enough? That's a very important point to understand. It's something that we can speak hours on. What is kind enough? What does it mean spiritual master is kind enough?
It means that he sees that the disciple is qualified enough to handle whatever
That means that the disciple is evoking more mercy from the spiritual master by his attitude and surrender in Krishna consciousness than what the spiritual master is giving automatically. Spiritual master is giving mercy to everyone. Krishna, samoham sarva bhuteshu. So, spiritual master also is merciful to anybody he meets. But, so Krishna is also merciful. Spiritual master carries that quality of Krishna in excess quantity. Okay, spiritual master is literally the patra, the vessel of Krishna's mercy. Of Krishna's merciful quality is manifest in the personality of the spiritual master. So he is merciful in general. So whatever he does, even if somebody rubs against the body of the spiritual master, by accident, he is blessed, touched a pure devotee. Something he says, somebody offers, oh, would you like some water? He's blessed. Spiritual master is mercy. He's kind. His very existence is that of kind, his compassion. He doesn't need to be here. The spiritual master does not have to be in the material world. He is here to deliver the conditioned souls. So this is spiritual master's mercy. So he's already kind. But what is this kind enough? That samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshosti na priya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. That the spiritual master is very endeared by disciples who are greatly endeavoring to assist him in his mission to the spiritual master. That person becomes qualified to experience that kind enough mercy. By that kind enough nature, everything becomes revealed.
Just having a thought that this verse, yesterday, Bhakti, that sometimes when we come into devotion service initially, like our first few years, the faith, I don't know, maybe just over years it becomes a little more complicated, but there's that extra level of okay, I just have faith in the process without any sort of hang up. And when you look back at certain things, you realize, oh man, so many things were possible even though I didn't have the qualifications. Mm-hmm. And I look back just like seeing certain things in my own life, and it's like, whoa, what, I have no qualifications to do that at all. Like before people say, oh, you naturally play mridanga, but I couldn't play music to save my life before I came to Krishna consciousness, or cook, or do any of these things. Yeah. And it was amazing, and the desire to try to please Krishna in that way, how it invokes that mercy to desire to serve in a particular way. Yeah. It's hard to, sometimes we forget over time, and then we come to this position.
It's true, we do forget.
I have to jump through hoops, and I have to go through this and that, and to do all this, but we forget that simple just level of faith in the holy name and the spiritual master, how that takes us to, that actually carries us. Or sometimes we have that, oh, how do I do this? And then I have to go through this and that. No, just go and play it. What's the problem? Just go and do it. What's the issue?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Just a question and then just a couple comments. But you're reading, and it was an interesting point I never considered, but at the devastation that everything's destroyed, including the light. Because you read in one of the purple or the text that
the rishis are the light.
Yeah, I never really considered that before. And then also too, there's no stars or anything.
There's no stars.
It's complete darkness.
It's that if you've like people who live in these far north or far southern regions where it's just dark for several months of the year, or worst in like there's experiences of like people who live at these science stations in Antarctica and all this, and they get very depressed because they can't see the sun, they can't see anything, you don't know whether it's day or night, and it's very disorienting. It's tough, and Krishna instructs Satyavati, you don't be morose. It's like
Yeah. And then this another point that you were kind of making too was that Satyavati Muni, he had like one idea of what he was trying to do, like performing like austerities and such like that. But then a completely different thing happened, and then he ended up on this boat for whatever, some 4 billion years as a Knight of Brahma. But so my question was,
so we may have one plan. Krishna has another plan. Who wins, Krishna?
That's interesting. But my question was, so you were talking about that that Krishna puts us in circumstances so we can learn and ultimately progress in Krishna consciousness. So my question is that in practicing Krishna consciousness, if we like, sometimes in Krishna consciousness we make like wrong choices, or maybe make mistakes or whatever, just kind of like blanket term like that. So if we make a mistake or a wrong decision in Krishna consciousness, if we're in that circumstance and like whatever, it's a bad circumstance, do we take that as that's Krishna's like put me in that circumstance, or do we understand that I put myself in that circumstance and like that?
It's definitely both. The thing is that Krishna allowed it. So in that sense, yes, he is responsible for the circumstance. But he allows it because of our desire. And so if we don't reform our desire, like, okay, sometimes we get these kusamskaras. We get all these like bad thoughts that really like, of whatever things we've done in the past, which aren't really mentionable and things like this, and it crops up in the mind. Where does it come from? Krishna says, I was speaking this to Charadeshna Prabhu the other day, that it's like, where does it come? Because remembrance and forgetfulness comes from Krishna. So who's reminding you your kusamskaras? When the living entity is put in susupti, he doesn't remember anything at the time of universal devastation. He doesn't remember anything. He doesn't know anything. He's just in a state of he's just in this state of susupti. And he doesn't remember anything. Then Supreme Lord reminds him, oh, you know what? You condition, based on the desires that the living entity has, you are so and so, you are this. And the living entity, because he has a desire for that, he latches onto it. So, it is both that Krishna is responsible ultimately, but he acts according to our desires, and the problem is our desires. So because of our stupid desires, something came up, a foolish idea came up, and we latched onto that idea because we had the desire, otherwise we wouldn't latch onto that idea. If somebody, if I propose, I'll give you a gun, you go kill this person, you may not like to do it because you don't have that desire. But to somebody else, he might think, this is a fantastic idea, I'm going to do it. Why? Because his desire is that he latches on to the idea. So, a devotee prays to Krishna after seeing mistakes that he has done, please help me purify my heart. That I have so many nonsense things in my heart, and I don't even want, I have no capacity to get rid of them. You please help me clean my heart, so that when the test comes, my desires don't drag me away from your lotus feet. That I don't get these desires, I get purified and I don't have, then these ideas don't drag me, sorry, not desires, but the idea doesn't drag me out, away from your lotus feet. That Right now I may have a desire to enjoy the body of a beautiful woman. And I cannot wish that beautiful women stop existing in this world. So, and who knows when I may come across a beautiful woman. But if you eradicate the desire for me to enjoy separately from you, then even if this beautiful woman comes in front of me, I will not be agitated. And I will still think of this, oh, even this attractive, whatever is, it's all Krishna. It's all Krishna. And therefore, let me worship Krishna in a form that he wants me to worship him. Let me not be attracted to a form of Krishna that takes me away from him. Everything is Krishna. So if a beautiful form of woman, this is also attractiveness is also from Krishna. Let me enjoy that. No, you go away. So, that's okay. Okay, anything from the Matajis? No. Yes.
If you have something in there,
Yeah, go, Ali.
You said that earlier that everything's an expansion of Krishna's glories.
Yeah, Prabhupada said that.
Yeah. So, and then you said the example of someone being envious. So I was wondering if you could elaborate on like how that is.
I mean, well, where does the quality of envy come from? Where does that living entity come from? His ability to be envy come from? It all comes from Krishna. How can he be envious if Krishna didn't allow it? Can he be envious? Can the living entity do anything if Krishna doesn't? Nothing. When Krishna says universal devastation, if that living entity's time is over in this body, can he be envious? He has no capacity. So that's how we see the will of the Supreme Lord. Okay, this living entity is envious. Now I have to act in a manner that is going to be pleasing to Krishna. Because Krishna's will is supreme. And only a devotee who cultivates this on a day-to-day basis, who understands that Krishna, Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas, first of all, he always puts himself in a society where Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas are always present. Right? What is that? That's why Prabhupada created the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Because here you have Hari, Guru and the Vaishnavas. There's Hari, there is Guru, and here are the Vaishnavas. And in their association, if one doesn't cultivate what is pleasing, he doesn't get that understanding. Then whenever he's in circumstances where at least you're not physically in the presence, like you may be out of the temple and it doesn't, although Guru and Krishna, Krishna is present everywhere and Guru knows everything by the mercy of Krishna. And in that sense, one can always understand that one is always sheltered by the spiritual master. As Prabhupada said that he never felt that he was separated from his spiritual. He always felt his spiritual master was with him. You won't get that consciousness unless you develop that consciousness within the association. And when we develop that consciousness and we try to act in a manner that is pleasing to Hari, Guru and the Vaishnavas, then we come to the platform where even when we are by ourselves, we realize that Krishna is always present and Guru is always present. How will Guru feel if I say this? How will the devotees feel if I say this? How will Krishna feel if I say this or if I act like this? Immediately his every thought and behavior is directed towards pleasing Krishna and he becomes Krishna conscious. And in this way, even when someone is envious towards him, that is his thought process. And Krishna gives him that intelligence. Because he's thinking, how can I please? How am I? Krishna will give intelligence. Because his desire is right. Krishna sees the desire. Krishna, please give. And he prays to Krishna. And this is also we pray when we chant our rounds. Krishna, please purify me. Please make me qualified to serve you. As Maharaj was giving such an amazing class the other day. How Krishna, with the Gundicha margin. It looks like, what is this? You invite someone to your house, but you clean and then you stay in the house. You have to clean the house before they come. But we are inviting Krishna to our heart. And Krishna, we ask that Krishna, you also clean it, because who's going to clean this? I don't have any capacity to clean. But Krishna is willing to clean. This is his mercy. So we pray like this. Our hearts becomes cleansed. And then we know how to behave. Okay, it's time up. Thank you very much. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यो च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
This the most out of the volumes. This one's the most like that.
Oh, really?
The other ones gets into like politics and how powerful one is. Everything gets into that.
That was just absolutely